Hi, I started this rug maybe about 2 years ago and I rediscovered it again the other day. So I think it's about time that I did a tutorial on how I make my rectangular shaped rug. Okay, so what you need to make your rug is a double duvet cover because it's just the right amount of fabric to make your rug. As you can see, I love purple, so I'm going to save this to make a little rug for my living room. My most favourite part of the rug is the ripping of the fabric. So if you have anything like that inside you that you need to get out, just rip. Just rip it. Rip out any anger, any stress. I love the sound as well. So therapeutic. And now I'm ready to make my rug. You need a needle. So I use this wire. I cut a length, fold one end to the middle, fold the other to roughly the middle so it looks like that. Okay. Also, if I have a paper clip, stretch it out and reshape it. You just get a piece of tape just to cover up the raw edges. And that is your needle, which you will then just thread the fabric through and use it for your sewing. Okay. You could also use a safety pin if you want. Just attach the safety pin and sew with it. I usually spend a little while just getting rid of the majority of the frayed part of the fabric. So now we're going to join the fabric together. I'm going to use this piece of fabric as the spine. So I've got different sizes, but it doesn't matter. This is thicker. This is going to be the main piece of the rug. And the wider you do the fabric, the thicker the rug will be. So what you need to do is fold it over an inch and put a little snip in there. Yeah. And then do the same with the other piece of fabric. Just fold it over roughly an inch. Give it a tiny little snip. So you've got one hole in this, one hole in that. Take one fabric and take the purple fabric, push it through that hole. Find the hole from that purple fabric. Find its tail. Push it through. Pull it. And it is attached together. Okay, and that's all you need to do every time you need to join the fabric. Now what I will do is create a knot and pop it over this part of my binder, which I find super helpful. Give it a bit of a pull. So you've already got one knot. So what you then do is to create a number 4 or a number 9. The fabric is on top. Push it underneath and pull to create a second knot. Okay, then do the same again. Create a number 9 or a number 4. Go underneath and pull to create another knot. And I'm going to create about 25 knots, so it's going to be quite long. Okay, so now I've created 25 knots, okay, and then what I'm going to do is just loosen it a little bit so I can just about see the colour of the spine showing through. Then that way it's easier for me to find the spine. Now we're going to work back up this piece, okay, so I need my needle, which I will now thread. So here's the first piece of spine that I'm going to attach to the fresh piece of spine, okay? Actually, the first one I'm going to go under and through, and then pull like that, okay? And now you can see the second gap. So I'm going to go down through the space, under, okay, so you can see that, and then go through this loop that I've just created. And you've created a new knot. Okay, so this is being attached to the original piece of spine. So go through that space, under, and then through the little loop. And then pull, but not too tight. A different method which might be easier, if you create a loop like so, go through the hole and then pull it out through the loop. So you must attach to the original spine, okay? So I'll do that one more time. Create a loop, go under the first spine, under the second spine, and through the loop. When you get to the top, you want to create 2 loops in that hole, okay? So make sure your spine is attached or next to. Go down through. And then do another knot through the same hole. In fact, I'm going to do 3. I feel like I need to do 3 here. Now we've gone around the bend and now we're going to work back up. It goes twisted, but it will settle after a while. Okay, so as I approach the top, this is my topmost piece, okay? So I'm just going to do another loop here. And like I did before, I'm going to add 2 or 3 knots in this one hole, but I'll see whether I need 3 when I get there. So I'm going to do 1, 3-thread, and do another one. Then what I'm actually going to do, I mean, you need to judge with your own one, so what I'm going to do is do another one here. Okay, so I've done 2 in that hole, I'm going to a fresh one. I'm going to keep it as 1. No, I lied, I'm going to make it 2. So now I've sort of created a, oops, can't see a thing. So now I've created a side, a top side. Okay, and then what I'll do is continue along there, but I won't add any extra knots as I go along. The extra knots are only going to be on the corners. So when I get to this end up here, I'm going to add 2 knots to this corner, 2 knots to this corner, and 1 here. But as I'm going around, you just judge for yourself whether it does need 2 or whether it needs 3 knots. So I'm going to create 2 loops here. One. 2. 1 in the middle. And then you just judge whether you need an extra one. I feel that I do actually need an extra one here. So I'm going to add another loop here, or another knot. So I'll keep calling it different names throughout. That's a bit better. Now I'm going to add 2. One, then come around the corner. Oops. And add another one. And then, as before, continue all the way up. If you look at my 2 ends, one is more squared and one is more rounded. Maybe I have to think where I'm going to put my double knots to make it more squared. But you can sort of manipulate it a little bit to help. It looks a little bit more squared. Okay, so once again I've got towards the top, just complete another loop. This was my corner, so I'm going to add 1 to here, so it's sort of part of a side. I'm going to add another one into the same hole. And go to the next one. And go to the next one. And then go to what was a corner. The first bit is for the top, and then in the same hole it will sort of create a side. But because it's quite a distance between the hole I've just put it in and to the next hole, I'm going to do a third in here. So it's created like a side going down the side, and then I'll just find the next hole again, which is there, and then just keep going. So in this corner, I'm going to put 3 knots. So the first knot is for the side of the rug. In the same hole, the second knot is to create the new corner, and then the third knot is for the top of the rug. Then I continue to do 1 knot, another knot, so 1 more knot here, and now in this one, 1 knot for the top, 1 knot for the corner, and 1 knot for the side, and then you continue. And then what you can do then is just remanipulate that into shape. Okay, so hopefully that helps you to understand how to create your rectangular rug. As an extra tip, when you've manipulated your corners, just so you don't lose them, is add a peg or something to it. Because what tends to happen is when you get to the top, especially when you go across here, you tend to lose where that triple stitch is supposed to go. So now that I've got to where my original corner is, I can take that out and then do 3 knots on here. One for the side, 1 for the new corner, and 1 for the top side. And as you do that, these spaces will grow. So because you're adding 3 onto the corner, you're always adding extra knots on the sides. Okay? Hope that makes sense. And then again, 3. 1 knot for the top, 1 knot for the corner, and 1 for the side, and then keep going. Always keep it flat on a table so it's easy for you to manipulate it into shape. Try to keep your knots even and don't pull on the spine. Keep that nice and relaxed. So here is the rug I was working on before. So you can see I actually added the purple duvet cover to it, which I cut into 2-inch strips. The red, I'll just let you know, measures 14 inches by 34. So with a double duvet cover, that's the approximate size that you will get if you're cutting your strips at approximately 2 inches wide. And the rug is now 21 by 42 inches long, and it still isn't finished. So a couple of tips: when you're nearing the end, you will need to work out how many strips you need to complete your rug, because you don't want to end your rug in the middle of a side. Okay, it needs to end here or here. So what I did was I measured the distance from where I added the new strip to where the strip ends, and that is 17 inches. So what I did was I measured 17 inches all around the rug to see how many strips of fabric I will need. And with this rug, I will need at least 8 strips of fabric. So I've got 10 strips, so it should be enough. It will be enough to finish this rug so that I actually finish it on the edge. And another important thing is, as the rug gets even bigger, you might want to add 4 stitches at each corner. So when you start the rug, you start with 2 stitches at each corner to start to create a flat edge. Then as it gets bigger, you start adding 3 stitches to the corner, and then the bigger it gets, I found that I needed to add 4 stitches to the corner. So I'm assuming that if I went even bigger, I will need to add 5 stitches to the corner. But this is the size of the rug that I'm really happy with. A couple of other tips is, when you're preparing the fabric so that you can join them, after you've added the little snip, fold it over and cut off the corners. That way, when you tie the fabric together, it's less bulky in the knot. Another tip is, when you thread the needle, push it through the needle, but that little hole, put it over the top and pull it down, and then that way you won't keep losing the fabric if it slips out of your needle. Okay, so I just had enough fabric to finish that, and I've come to this end and I've stopped right at this corner here, and then what you can do is just fold the fabric under to check that you're happy with that, and if you are, fold it over, bring the fabric through, just double check again that you're happy with it, and then tie it into a knot. And that's the rug finished. And later, if you want to, you can add to it just by undoing that and then carrying on. And that is my rectangle rug.